Hoy vamos a aprender comparaciones. So last semester we learned how to describe people and how to describe things. But today we're going to improve our descriptions. We're going to learn actually how to compare things or how to compare people. More specifically, today we're going to learn comparisons of inequality, which means that we're going to compare things that are not similar. So let me give you an example. In this case, if we compare the pizza and the plate, we see that the pizza is actually bigger than the plate. Bigger than. That's our comparison. So in Spanish, the way that you would do that, you would say la pizza es más grande que el plato. Más grande que el plato. So let me give you another example to make it a little bit more evident here. The pizza is more expensive than the salad. I highlighted for you some keywords. Más and then que. Más cara que. More expensive than. Okay, so those are the words that you need to remember are más que. But what if I switch it and I say that the salad is less expensive than the pizza? In that case, you would have to switch más to menos que. Okay, so to summarize, the words that you need to remember are más que or menos que. So here, it's like a formula, más que and menos que. And in between más que, you're going to have an adjective, so something that describes something. An adverb, usually something that goes next to an action verb, or a noun, a thing. Okay, so let me give you an example of each of them. So I'm going to give you an example of a comparison with an adjective. So take a look at that toaster. That's actually not my toaster. I wish I had one like that. But let's say that this was my toaster, and it's newer than my microwave oven. In this case, I'm going to say más nueva que. Nueva is an adjective because it's describing my toaster. Es más nueva que mi microondas. Okay. Now, notice that in English, you say my toaster is newer than my microwave oven. So you just added er to the word new. In Spanish, we don't have that. That does not exist. So if we were going to translate this literally, it would say my toaster is more new than my microwave oven. Okay, so it's always going to be más que. You don't have to worry about having to add something to the word, to the adjective, to the word that describes whatever it is you're trying to compare. Okay, so here's another example using an adverb. Mi amigo llega más tarde que yo a la clase de español. Again, the translation in English would be my friend arrives later than I to the Spanish class. You just added er to late. We can't do that. So if we were going to translate this literally, it would say my friend arrives more late than I to the Spanish class. The reason why I'm giving you this literal translation is that you remember that it's always going to be more something than, okay, or less something in the middle than, más palabra que, or menos alguna palabra, some word, and then que. Más que, menos que. Those are the ones that you have to remember. Let's go on to a noun. This example says, my apartment building has more floors than yours, than your apartment building. Floors is a noun, it's a thing, right? So, likewise, mi edificio de apartamentos tiene más pisos que el tuyo. Okay? So pretty simple. To summarize, you just need to remember it's like a formula. Más, something goes in the middle, then que. Or menos, something goes in the middle, then que. Let's move on. And let's take a look at some examples. So two pictures of sofas, and let's compare them in regards to price. Okay, we see that one is more expensive than the other one, right? So the white sofa, el sofá blanco, it costs $7,000. El sofá naranja cuesta $1,000. So if we're going to compare, we're going to say that one is more expensive than the other. So we would say el sofá blanco es más caro que el sofá naranja. The white sofa is more expensive than the orange sofa. What about an example with menos que? Let's talk about comfort. El sofá naranja es menos cómodo que el sofá blanco, less comfortable than the white sofa. At least that's what it looks like to me. What about the way that they look? Let's say that I like one of them better. By now you realize that I like the white sofa better. It looks beautiful. Se ve hermoso. Hermoso means beautiful. El sofá blanco me gusta mucho. El sofá naranja no me gusta mucho. El sofá blanco es hermoso. So if we're going to compare, I would say the white sofa is more beautiful than the orange sofa, right? So try to fill in the blanks. I'll give you a minute to do that. All right. If you filled it in with más and then que, you got it right. Great job. All right, what about if I wanted to say that, let's say that I'm in the furniture store and the white sofa to me is the most beautiful of all of the sofas. How would I do that? That's called a superlative. When you're comparing something that is the most, the best, the maximum, okay? So if you're gonna do that, you just need the word más or menos, okay? But in front of más, you need to add an article, just like you would in English. Because in English you would say the white sofa is the most beautiful. Literal translation, el sofá blanco es el más hermoso. The literal translation would be the white sofa is the more beautiful. Okay? So again, just need to remember más and then stick an article. That article, el, is in relation to el sofá, which in this case is masculine. Okay? So what if I were going to do the least? I would say el sofá naranja es el menos bonito, the least beautiful or the least pretty. Okay? And I gave you here the articles that you need, el, la, los, las, right? So just make a note of those articles. Again, if you're going to do a comparison saying that something is the most beautiful, el sofá es el más hermoso de todos, of all. Okay? Let's say that you're looking at a blouse. La blusa es la más bonita de todas. Let's say that I'm looking at some purses and they're expensive. I would say, estas bolsas, these bags, these handbags, son las más caras. Maybe the more expensive, the most expensive, but literal translation is the more, okay? What about an example with los, let's say, los pantalones. So maybe you're looking at some jeans, los vaqueros, and they are the coolest of all of them in the store. Estos vaqueros, these jeans, son los más padres. The coolest, los más padres de toda la tienda. Padres is a slang word used in Mexico for cool. Okay, or you could say chévere, that's another word used in Latin America. Los jeans o los vaqueros son los más chéveres de todos. Okay, let's move on. And here I gave you an example of using menos, la mesa de cristal es la menos cara de todas. And I highlighted for you la, which again, remember to put an article before más or menos. And then I'm saying of all, de todas. Okay? Now I'm going to show you words that have a special word for comparison. And the first one that I'm going to show you is bueno. If you want to say better, you would not say more good. You would say mejor. Okay? So let's take a look at the climate. Take a look at the climate in San Diego. I went to San Diego once and the weather was just amazing. And I hear that that's the way it is all year round. Then I had the opportunity to go to Las Vegas and it was really hot. You don't really want to walk out there in the street when the weather is over 120 degrees. Okay? So I would say that the weather in San Diego is better than the weather in Las Vegas. Better than. How do I do that? Mejor que. Okay? Again, bueno, better, mejor. Here I'm not saying more good or más bueno. I'm saying mejor. Mejor que el clima. What if the weather in San Diego was just the best? Okay? Then I would just take mejor, and just like we did with más or menos, I would stick an article to say the best. I would say el clima de San Diego es el mejor. Okay, so malo also has a special word when you're doing comparisons, and that is peor. Again, you wouldn't say more bad, you would say worse. Just like in English, you wouldn't say malo, you would say peor. Okay, so take a look at this picture. Alaska gets to be really, really cold, right? 50 below zero. So I could say that el clima en Alaska es peor que, worse than, el clima en Texas. Okay, es peor que. What if I wanted to say that it was just the worst? The weather in Alaska is the worst of all. How do you think that you would do that? If you say, stick an article in front of peor, you got it right. El clima en Alaska es el peor de todos los estados. So now let's take a look at a word, joven, which has a special word for making comparisons. So that word is menor. If you're trying to say that somebody's younger, you would use the word menor. So that's a picture of my family, and yes, I look blonde in that picture. I'm in the middle there. Those are my siblings, and that's my mom, mi hermana, mi hermano, y mi mamá. Mi hermana, my sister, is younger than I. Mi hermana mi hermana menor se llama Paola. My younger sister's name is Paola. Okay, so I would refer to her not as mi hermana más joven. I wouldn't say that. I would say mi hermana menor. What about my brother? My brother is older. And you know that the word old is viejo. But you wouldn't say that somebody is more old. Okay? That sounds actually a little bit harsh. Okay? So instead, you're going to use the word mayor if you want to say that somebody's older. Mi hermano mayor es muy inteligente. My older brother is very intelligent. Likewise, mi mamá, that you see right there in the picture, es una señora mayor. You wouldn't say es una señora vieja o es una señora muy vieja. You could say that, but it sounds harsh. Okay, so instead you would say mi mamá es una señora mayor. What about the youngest? Okay, so here's a picture of my cousins, and my cousin Lou, she is the youngest of all my cousins. Lou es la menor de mis primos. La menor. Again, just take menor and then stick an article, la. And that wraps it up for comparisons of inequality. Now you try it.